Thanks, John. Now, Pakistan remains in the grip of protest and political turmoil, with the cleric who stirred anger about government corruption saying he won't back down. His stance has added to a growing crisis, which has seen the Supreme Court call for the arrest of the Prime Minister. But Raja Pervez Ashraf is still a free man, and ministers have threatened to take action if the demonstrations continue. Our foreign correspondent, Jonathan Rugman, has been to meet the preacher who claims he's leading the biggest march in history.
The crowd stretches for a mile or so, and it hangs on the every word of just one man.
And we want just free elections. We want fair elections.
Dr. Tahir ul-Qadri, a firebrand cleric, guarded by a phalanx of his devoted followers. Qadri lives permanently in this bulletproof box. His supporters fear for his life because he's spoken out against the Taliban. This evening, the padlock to that box was opened and I was hauled inside.
I saw you this morning standing there.
I was there.
And you're on the left side, I saw.
To meet the pinstriped preacher who explained why he's brought the downtown capital of 185 million people to a standstill.
About 2,000 families, they have hereditary rights of politics. And 99.9% of the people of Pakistan are totally out of the whole democratic process.
Do you want to be Prime Minister yourself?
No, absolutely, I have said, I am not a candidate for this caretaker prime ministerialship. And I am not a candidate not contesting an election afterwards personally. I just want to empower my people. I am not here to empower myself. I just want electoral reforms. I just want democracy in letter and spirit to be in place. I just want the rule of law. I just want the human rights of the people to be protected.
From his home, al-Qadri claims he is leading one of the biggest marches in history. But this march isn't. And from behind its defensive line of shipping containers, Pakistan's government is refusing to give in and resign. The Prime Minister's office is praying for rain, hoping the cleric and his bandwagon will pack up their bags. The Prime Minister himself is at his son's wedding and disputing an order from the Supreme Court next door that he be arrested on corruption charges. But the crowds demanding change are also refusing to budge, even though the government they want to oust was elected and al-Qadri wasn't.
Well, Tahir Qadri obviously has no legitimacy himself to say that. He is not a political leader. He is just leader of one seminary.
He's got thousands of people on the streets.
Well, he has got, I think the number of people with him are not more than 15 to 20,000.
At one point, army helicopters buzzed the crowd. Al-Qadri's been accused of being a stooge of Pakistan's generals in search of a firmer grip on power, but he denies it.
We have no connections with army, and I am totally against military takeover. I am not in favor of any kind of authoritarianism. I am not in favor of theocracy. I am not in favor of any elitism. I am in favor of democracy and constitutionalism.
Pakistan's military may be the only people who can end this standoff, either by brokering a compromise with Dr. al-Qadri and his supporters so that they can go home, or by backing these protests and forcing the government from office early. But Dr. al-Qadri didn't strike me as in the mood for any compromise. And whatever's happening in the air, nobody has yet given ground. Jonathan Rugman, Channel 4 News, Islamabad.
Well, live now too, Jonathan. If you look into your crystal ball for a minute, how do you think this is going to play out?
Well, it's a pretty strange situation, isn't it, Kathy, when you have a man in a bulletproof metal box with tens of thousands of followers trying to hold a government to ransom. I think the government has two responses. One is ignore them and hope for a torrential downpour so that they all go home. And the second is more worrying. The Interior Minister is tonight saying he has intelligence that militants, and presumably he means the Taliban, are planning to attack this demonstration, and that if that happens, the Interior Minister says he will hold Dr. al-Qadri responsible. Now, that may be scare tactics, but there again, that bulletproof box is not bomb-proof, and any threat has to be taken seriously. I think the army may be the only people who can mediate their way out of this crisis, but we don't know if they are going to pick up the phone, and if they don't, this crisis may continue for some time.
Jonathan in Islamabad, thank you very much. John.